Welcome back. So today I'm gonna go ahead and go over some of the basic commands in the Linux terminal. So there'll be others. There are around 3,000 Linux commands, something like that. I'm not sure was it actually 2 or 3. It doesn't matter. You don't need to know all of them. It's unimportant. You need to know the ones that you will use. First of all, you need to know the basic ones, and then you move on from the basic ones to the ones that are fit for your purpose. And then over time, you basically learn more and more and more and more. And I don't think that there are that many people who know all of them. But it doesn't matter because a lot of them you will never need or use, as there are commands built for specific purposes. Anyway, so the very first command that we will need to learn is the cd command. So these are the set of commands which will help you with the navigation. So you have the cd command, which stands for change directory. Now, pretty much almost all the commands have manual pages. So you type in man cd, and this gives you a ton of information in regard to the cd command and all of the arguments that can be passed to it. It gives you the syntax, what it is, how it is used, etc. You press Q to actually quit it. Why is the screen going dark? Okay. Anyway, the arguments that are passed to the commands. Well, I'm not going to do the demo on that with the CD, I'll do it with the ls, but here let me just show you how the CD works. If you press CD, and if you type in slash and home, and then just press tab, it's going to autocomplete. So tab autocompletes commands. If I press tab twice, it's going to give me the list of possibilities, but I can just type in CD, and now I am in that folder. I am in that directory. And if I type in pwd, which stands for print working directory, and press enter, that's going to tell me exactly where I am at the moment. So this is my working directory. Another command is ls, which lists the contents of the current directory. Ls can be passed arguments. You can pass arguments. So you pass arguments with a dash, and then you specify which argument you wish to pass. And if I state ls-l, that will tell me that will give me a detailed listing in terms of the file. So it will give me permissions, who is the owner, which group owns it, what is the file name, etc. You have some other information here, but I'll explain it shortly. You don't need to know all of it. If I type in another argument, which is h, it's going to tell me the exact size of each file in a human readable format. So 4.8 megabytes, 64 kilobytes, and so on and so forth. Not all of them are listed for some strange reason. It doesn't really matter. Most of the time, it's going to work out just fine. It's probably working out just fine. I just can't see why it's not printing it out the way I wanted to do, the way I wanted it to. But -h in general gives you the human readable format. You can also type in man ls, and it's going to give you a lot of listing in terms of all the arguments that can be passed. You have a serious amount of them. Like, quite literally here, it stands for human readable with -l or -s print human readable sizes, 1 kilobyte, 234 megabytes, 2 gigabytes, etc. It's gonna tell you the sizes. Anyway, so I'm just gonna go ahead and press Q to quit this. One of the other commands that you can use is the uname -a, and that's gonna -a stands for all in general, and that's gonna tell you well, this is my domain, this is the host name, and then this is the kernel version here, and I'm running Fedora 23. You might have downloaded, 24 is out, I will update 24, but no significant difference in terms of what we are going to be doing. 22, 23, 24, and probably 25 will be almost exactly the same for our purpose. If not exactly the same. I mean, there aren't any real differences there that would affect us. Anyway, if you type in uname-r, another argument, that's just going to give you the kernel. So let's go ahead and clear that. You clear it with Control L or by typing in the command clear to clear the screen. There's also a dice command which is called history, history, and it gives you a listing of all the commands that you've typed in. Well, at least 1,000 of them, or however many you've actually configured. You configure it from here. Just go File, Settings, Edit Current Profile, and this is also where you can configure your terminal, how you wish it to look like. So if you go into Appearance, you can like set these colors. I prefer to use this one as it is light on my eyes, or this one. Generally, in between one of the two I pick, it doesn't really matter for me because it's just something, because I spend a lot of time in front of the computer. I always choose the colors that suit my eyes the best. And you see it says scrolling 1,000 lines. So you can alter this any way you like. Actually, let's put it back to the white one. As it is better for you, because you can see it better. Okay, so let's clear the screen. Next up, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at chmod and chown and touch. So if I type in touch and if I type in test, this is going to create a file test. If I type in ls, test is there. There's also ll, a short version of ls-l, and it's still going to be there. As you can see it, it's test is here and it's here. If I press Control to clear the screen. Now if I type in ll space test, I just want to get a listing for a particular file. I can see that the chronic, which is the user that owns the file test, and the group chronic owns the file test as well. These here, dash stands for a file. You have a D, which stands for a directory, and L, which stands for a link. I think you have a few more of them for pipes, etc., but doesn't really matter now. We'll get into pipes when we start messing around with traffic down along the Merry Road. So you have the first three signify the permissions for the user. The second three signify the permissions for the group. And the last three signify the permissions for the world, so what anybody else can do to the file. And these are called discretionary access controls. This has nothing to do with mandatory access controls, which is SC Linux. So this is just the first layer of security. If you can chmod and you can change the permissions by typing in a set of numbers like this. 777 is the global set of permissions. I would strongly suggest that you go out onto the net and you take a look at chmod and man chmod, because it's such an extensive, well, maybe not that much of an extensive command, but you see these permissions, they have a logic of their own. So chmod, if you type in like 777, that's a global mode, but you can also type in 055 or something like that, and that's gonna enable you to give different permissions. But you need to take a look at these numbers and what each one of them represents here. Actually, let me just go ahead and look it up for you. File permissions. There was a very good explanations. There's a very good explanation on the net out there for this. It's not really an explanation of the chmod. It just gives you the listing on the numbers. And the listing on the numbers is the thing that I'm looking for now. Yep, there we go. So if you 4 stands for readable, 2 stands for writable, and 1 stands for executable. But you see these R, W, and X? Well, they can also be used, and I can do this. chmod, instead of typing in numbers, I can just type in +X to test. Yep. And if I press enter and if I do LL test again, you will see that the group, that the user has gained execute permissions, and that the group has gained execute permissions, and that the world has gained execute permissions, which is like really bad, which is not something that we generally want. But there's also something. Let me just open up a text editor here for you. And by the way, VMI is the text editor. You won't have it by default. Type in DNF. And actually, no, I'll talk about the DNF later. You can just type in VI. That's the one that you will have. And with VI, type in tests, I don't know, 0, 1. And let me just go ahead and copy paste these. I don't actually need to do this. This is just from my notes. +2 + 1. Okay. Read. I don't know why the copy pasting didn't work out there. Sometimes it doesn't. Maybe because I'm stupid or something. So, 7. It's actually 4 + 2 + 1. So, read, write, execute. 4 is read, 2 is write, 1 is execute. So 4 + 2 + 1, basically, yeah, that's equal to 7. So the next one is basically 6, which is 4 + 2, that's read and write. Here, let me just open up a new window, and let me demonstrate that a little bit further. I know it can look a little bit scary, but believe me, you'll figure it out with great ease. So, ls test, right? ll test, there you go. So it has all these permissions. And one number, so, like, yeah, there we go. So look, if you specify one number, so chmod, and the first number will signify the permissions for the user. So if I don't want to give any permissions to the user, I will type in 0, because that's none of this. If I want to give write and execute permissions to the user, I will type in 3. If I just want the user to have read permissions, I will type in 4. Now the next set of permissions is for the group. What sort of permissions would I like to give to the group? Well, let's say that the group can read from it, so 0, 4. And the last permission to the world shall be 0 as well, so test. So this, you're gonna have 3 dashes here, and you're gonna have a dash here, and it will be, let me just see it, read, write, execute. Right, you will have 2 dashes here, and this will be readable. So let's see how that actually changes. Let's test, and there you go. So nobody has any permissions other than the group, which actually has only read permissions. I type in cat test, permission denied, because this particular user within this group does not have that permission. If I was some other user within the same group, I would be able to mess around with it. Let's go ahead and do a little bit more. So chmod, if I would like to give permission to that particular user to read it and the group, I would just type in 4 for the user to read and 4 for the group to read, and 0 because I do not wish to allow anything to the world. And I type in test, and I type in ll test. There we go. Now the user and the group can actually just read through it, but they cannot write anything to it, nor can they execute anything, nor can anybody else. And if I type in cat test, I can access it. Cat is another command which actually flushes out the contents of a file. Let me just see if I can find a file. There you go. If I type in cat x.log temp, you see this is going to cat out everything that's in it. It's just gonna push the contents of the file onto the screen. So very useful command that we will use extensively. This is how the permissions, the discretionary access controls work. I'm sure you figured it out. If you didn't, take a look at it. I mean, it's not really that complicated. They've actually made it extremely simple. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and take a look at some other commands as well. Let me just go ahead and increase the size of this. You have move. So move command actually moves a file or a folder from one path to the other. So if I have test, and if I move it to home chronic documents, it's gonna be moved from that folder to the other one. And if I type in home chronic documents test, it's going to be here and it will retain all the permissions that it had previously. Another command is rm. It's going to remove write protected regular empty file. Yes, goodbye, that will remove it. If you wish to remove a folder, you need to type in -rf, and it's going to actually remove a folder. Be very careful with move command, with rm command, which stands for remove, because once you have deleted something, there really isn't any real way of getting it back. So it's not like in Windows where you put it into a trash can or something like that. Once you have deleted it with rm, it's gone. Say goodbye to it. Never gonna see it again. There are a few others, but I'm gonna cut the tutorial here and we'll come back in the follow-up. Okay, so let's begin with the round 2. We have cp, grep, tail, dnf, and chown. So in the previous tutorial, I showed you chmod, and now there is the chown, which can actually alter the user and the user group which owns a particular file. So if I just recreate the test, and if I do ll test, you can see that it's owned by chronic and that it's owned by the user group chronic as well. If I do chown, what group shall I use? I don't know, root, no, not root, can't use root from here. Well, you know what, when you need to take a look at which users and which user groups you have on your PC, you can do so with the cat command. So with cat and then /etc and then pass wd. And here you can see all the users listed. And I don't know, we have the user games, we have the user FTP. Why are these users here? Why do they exist? Well, you need the FTP user for the FTP server and for the permissions for the FTP server when it runs, or for the client, etc. You have the MySQL user for the SQL database as well. You have the QMO for the virtualization, etc. You have a ton load of them, so you can take a look at them here without any problems. Okay, so let's do chown Apache test. Ownership of test, operation not permitted. I can't change it. Oh, okay. I'm gonna need higher level privileges for this, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do this as root. So let's go ahead and change the directory to home, the user, and it should be here. Yep. chown Apache test. And if I do ll test, you can see that it has changed ownership from chronic to Apache. Rm test. We're not gonna need that. Goodbye. I have multiple terminals open from left and right and all my windows, so you can just use the sudo command for this. So if you just type in sudo and su, that will actually prompt you for a root. Or you can just type in sudo with your current user and then type in the command like chown, and it will prompt you for a password before actually executing the command. So you will be able to do it that way. Now, next up is the cp command. So cp pretty much works like move. You cp test, I just removed it, test, and you can just do cp. If you wish to copy a folder, you'll need to use the recursive flag, and you can also type in v, which is pretty much generally used for verbose mode, which means it gives you a more information on the operation. So if I test to Where shall we copy this? Oh, let's go to documents. And you can see that the test has indeed been copied to documents. One more thing. If you're trying to go from the current folder, from the current directory, so pwd, to the next one in line, you don't need a slash. You just type in cd. You can just type in, like, documents without a slash. But if you're going elsewhere, for example, if I was to go somewhere what is not listed here, I can type in bin. We need slash do slash bin. And by the way, in slash bin, oops, all your executables are listed, all your binaries, so to say. Not executables, but binaries, which are executable as well. They need to be in order to execute them. Anyway, you can go ahead and see that test is indeed in documents. So to the right side, you will be able to find it along with a download of other files that I have here. Anyway, the next up is grep. So if you grep is basically for pulling out certain things. For example, if you use IP addr show, this will show the interfaces, the network interfaces, and their IP addresses. Which is, yeah, it's kind of, the information is kind of messy here, isn't it? Like, there's a lot of things, and it's kind of difficult to go over it, isn't it? So you have a loopback interface, and then you have the address for the loopback interface, and then you have your internet connection where it's going through which interface is being used for that. So you have 192.168.1.2 is for me, for you it might be something else. But suppose we just wanted to grep the INET addresses or the internet. Suppose we wanted to grab this line, actually, let's put it like that. Suppose we wanted this line from each one of these interfaces. How would we do that? Well, we would need to state, okay, find a line which contains this keyword, because this keyword is common for all the interfaces, and you would do like this. You would use the pipe. This is a pipe symbol, and then type in grep. I usually like to use the argument -I for ignoring the cases of the letters, because Linux is extremely case sensitive. -I, and then I would type inet, and that would print every line which contains inet. So I would be able to find the internet address of whatever, the LAN IP address of pretty much of whichever interface I wanted. So this command is actually going to be quite handy later on. And finally, we come to the DNF. So you can use sudo DNF, or you just need to type in sudo su and become root. But I have a root terminal here. If I just do the clearing of the screen, DNF is used for searching, installing, and removing packages. So if I type in DNF search, for example, Wireshark, which will be the subject of our next lecture, or should be anyway, I can see all the packages for Wireshark. If I wanted to install it, I would need to type in DNF install Wireshark, and I would install it. Actually, with this command, I would install this one, because this one is taken by default. Unless you're in a 32-bit system, then this one would be taken as a default. But you can just copy-paste the name from here of whatever it is that you wish to install, and install it in this manner. In order to remove it, all you need to do is type in remove, for example, Wireshark, just the name of the package, and this would actually remove it. All DNF installations, removals, and updates need to be done from root or from a user with admin privileges. So DNF update, if I just press enter here, this is going to perform an update. And you see I do have some updates pending, so I might as well just go ahead and issue a command to actually perform the updates. Well, this is gonna take a while, so I'm just gonna remove this terminal from the screen, and I will show you a next command. Next command is tail. Tail is extremely useful for monitoring logs, and you will need to know how to monitor logs, where they are stored, and what to do with them, because you want to know what is going on your system. So if I just type in cd var log, your system logs are contained here, pretty much all the logs. I have VBox logs, wow. Must have been from a while back, I don't generally use it. Okay, so we have DNF logs. What else do we have that's kind of familiar? Well, cron jobs. Cron jobs are scheduled jobs that are set at boot time or at specific time intervals, etc. So you have for that. There's a log for the database, MariaDB. Messages, this is a general log file. So if I type in tail-f messages and press enter, this is going to say permission denied. Why has the permission been denied? Because a regular user does not have the proper permissions to actually read from these logs. So I'm just going to pull up the root terminal so I don't have to log in and log out every time. If I type in tail-f var log messages, this will give me a real-time update in regard to what is going on my system. So everything that's being logged into messages, it's going to be popping here. SystemCTL, I actually can't do it like this, but doesn't really matter. You can go ahead and take a look at what is going on your system in live, in the logs, because tail-f monitors the file live, so it will output any changes that occur. But that's about it in terms of basic Linux commands. There's another one which I wanted to show you, which I just started typing in, which is systemctl, which can be used to start a particular process in the background. So you can type in start, for example, httpd, which will start the web server if you have it installed. And anytime now, yep, there we go, it has started. And you can also type in system ctl status httpd, and this is how you basically check if it's running or not. It says active, running, loaded, and if it doesn't display a path here, it's a problem because it can't find it. Obviously, it won't be running then. To stop it, systemctl stop httpd. So these are just the basic examples of these commands. Of course, there are far more complex variants of them, which are used for specific purposes. But as I go through I just wanted to give you the basics so that you can orientate yourselves here. Nothing special. Later on, as we actually begin doing some serious things, as I said before, each command that I use there, each command that is new, I will explain it in detail so you will be able to figure things out without bigger problems. Okay, bid you farewell, and I'll see you in the follow-up tutorial, where we will go ahead, install Wireshark, and see how we can actually monitor incoming and outgoing traffic on a particular interface.